never had a problem, no matter where you are. No matter if you're in your workplace, your school, your home, everything is perfect. You love everyone loves you, and you never have to think before you speak. Let it in. Linger with the memory. And then, snap out of it, because that doesn't exist. This is the real world, and there is no such thing as perfect. Is this a bad thing? Let's find out. And while I state the obvious, I might as well state my name. My name is Jia Verma, and I'm here to talk about a journey. Not one of miles, but one of riveting self-growth and realizations. Now, I have accumulated a lot of knowledge as I've gone through stages of my life, so I thought I would compile all of these and share them with you. Now let's take a trip down memory lane. Growing up, I moved a lot. Packing boxes and school orientations had become a part of my daily routine. And while I'd always have this initial alien-like feeling, I would always make friends immediately, and I would never really have to think that much. And this constant moving honed my social skills and made me more adaptable to new and changing environments. I moved schools again and again until I finally settled down, and for 4 years I sunk into my comfort zone so deep that I forgot how to swim out of it. But this didn't bother me because socializing was a game that I had always won. But then the rules of the game changed. High school was not about how quickly and how many friends I could make. It was about fitting in and changing and molding myself into something that others would accept and they would be friends with. So I became a chameleon, and every single time I meet someone, I'd variate myself. I would become a little bit different, maybe hoping that one of these times they would love me for it. And it's so sad to say it out loud, but truthfully, this is a reality for many. And I was scared of everything. I was scared to make a move. I was scared to do something that would make someone snicker and whisper to themselves. And I was so scared that if I wasn't perfect, I wouldn't thrive. I was taken aback by how hard it was to put myself out there. Such a stark contrast from the rest of my social successes when I was younger. So then I took that moment to ask myself, what did I do back then that made thriving everywhere so easy? And before I begin, I would just like to talk about something that I think would resonate with all of you. Every day we hear and we experience that the world gets more complicated, that every day the world goes a little bit more into turmoil, something new comes, you could get canceled now, right? There's always something. But we always say that when we were little, it was easy. Life wasn't complicated. But I would just like to take this moment to reflect. Is life just getting more complicated, or are we also complicating it for ourselves? Because this is a root of so many problems, and we just cannot keep blaming them on the place that we are. An important point to realize is that thriving is a habit, and that's something that is done regularly and repeatedly. It does not mean that you're innately good at it, because we learn everything we know. And it also does not mean that you're always going to get it right, no matter what and where you are. Thriving is about knowing what works and what doesn't. You have to mess up. You have to be uncomfortable. You have to go through an awkward moment and think, oh my God, why did I even say that? And that's why you're good at something, because you have made those mistakes. And you have to also, the most important thing is you have to understand that you will not have control over your environment. You will not always have that control that you wish that you have in your mind. Because the only thing any of us ever have control over is ourselves. Also, please don't set expectations, because when we set expectations, we box ourselves. Anything of our happiness and our worth is confined in these four walls that we have boxed ourselves into. Sorry, my bad. And I remember just setting rigid expectations. When I walked into high school, I've seen my fair share of movies, and I was like, it's gonna be like this, and it's gonna be like that. And imagine my shock when I came in, and I didn't know anyone, and I just couldn't talk to anyone. It was terrifying. But every single time that something wouldn't match up to my expectations, I would feel a little bit more sad that it didn't work out the way that I wanted it to, which actually sounds pretty irrational, but it's a thought process. So if I could go back and tell my first day of high school self one thing, it would be that it's not that deep, because it's not. Setting expectations and rules for the way that your life around you should constantly be and your environment only limits you. And every single time something or someone does not match up to your expectations, you feel limited and you feel so helpless from your own problem that you have created. So while we ponder on that, I'd actually like to talk about a scenario that I think everyone here has experienced, especially people who are walking into new environments. Have you ever walked into an environment and you've seen a person and you thought, my God, that person looks really nice, but then they're not. They're actually really mean. And you just think to yourself, God, I was so wrong for expecting that they would be nice, which is a massive bummer and it really hits people. But have you ever talked to someone or just looked at someone and thought, oh my God, they look so mean, but then you actually talked to them and you thought, they're so ridiculously nice? The same thing goes for environments. When you walk into an environment, if you expect it to be amazing, if you walked into my TED Talk and you saw me walk on stage and you thought it was going to be good or bad, it doesn't matter because it's going to be good, right? And also, an important thing to remember is that why would you even think and expect things from your environment when you can just have control over yourself and you can trust yourself to be good rather than trust your environment to be good, because that's irrational. Honestly, not having expectations is so freeing in itself, because every beautiful and unexpected thing that happens to you will feel like that it is meant to be in your life. Not that you checked a box or it's something that was just supposed to happen. Because nothing in your life is ever supposed to happen. Because some things are going to happen for people earlier. Some are going to happen later. And sometimes things don't even happen. And that's okay, because sometimes you have to let life happen to you. Ironically, when you want to succeed in an unfamiliar place with unfamiliar people, you have to get familiar with yourself. Because I remember having some of my friends, and back then when in my old school, I love my friends so much and I still do, but when I wasn't around them, I didn't know what I was. Because I was just their friend. I didn't know what Gio was yet. Because you have to focus on who you are and not who you are going to be around other people. No matter how great people make you feel, and no matter how important they are, your true worth does not lie in the people around you, it only lies in you. And that's why you cannot focus or backtrack or just overthink the way that people think about you, because you cannot control that. You cannot go back to conversations and wonder how people got to their conclusion of you, because it's out of your hands. When we grip so desperately to things or people that aren't intertwined with ourselves deeply enough, we slowly lose our grip on who we are. And that is just incredibly sad, and it's a very hard thing to get out of. And eventually, when you are thrown around so much and you refuse to stand strong, you eventually just become a lump of clay, waiting to be shaped. But you don't have to be shaped, because another thing to remember is that all of us always have choices. We have choices all the time. Every day, every minute, every second, we are always exercising these choices, but sometimes you don't realize them because you're so daunted by your circumstances. Maybe you're in a school you hate. Maybe your friends are giving you a hard time, and maybe your teachers are, really annoying you because you're not doing well on things. And your life is your life, and everything you do is an inherent choice that you make. So why would you blame your environment, and why would you victimize yourself when you could be proactive in getting what you want? And like I mentioned before, not every day is going to be the exact same. I have had days where I felt less unwelcome in familiar environments. I have had days where I've had so many mistakes and awkward incidents that I've had to count them on 2 hands. 2 hands. And it's so embarrassing, but actually, that is what keeps me coming back to these unfamiliar places. To these places that I thought I would never even step in. Because it's the knowledge and it's the wisdom that when you walk into a place, you know that you're going to be put in a situation and you will complain and you will whine about it, but you will emerge with a lesson that no one could have ever taught you, that I cannot say. Because if there was some way to sum up something, then everyone would be fine. If everyone watched one motivational speech, we wouldn't have a problem. But the thing is, it comes from you, and it's feeling, and it's a mindset that you cannot fully describe. To come back to my point from the beginning, is it actually a good thing that our environment is almost never what we expect? And is it a good thing that we can almost never predict the outcome? Is it a bad thing that life isn't perfect? Every person in this crowd could easily answer no, because that's what other motivational speeches have taught us. And while it's easy to rationally answer this question out loud, it is so difficult to rationalize it in real time. And the reason for that is because I can jump into my own experiences. Yes, high school would have been a lot easier for me if I knew everyone from before, or if I went to a school where I did know people from before, and it would have been easier if I wasn't socially awkward or scared to talk to people. Then life would have been easier, then I wouldn't have to struggle. But I wouldn't be giving this talk, I would not have written this script, and I would not be saying all these words and being in front of you on stage. Everything happens for a reason, right? And your hardships are not going to stop. Your efforts are not going to stop. And until you take your last breath, you will not stop trying. Is this daunting? So extremely. It's so daunting. But it's worth it. It's all worth it. Because after everything that everyone in this room has overcame and seen in their life, you have to admit that your life would not be half as bright and beautiful if you did not have these dull and unwelcoming circumstances that all of us are destined to face. People always talk about going out and finding something special, like in an environment or in a person or in themselves, and they look so hard, but maybe we don't have to look that hard because maybe everything is special. And it's hard to believe when things are so scary, but everything is special because everything is an experience and it's a learning experience. And thriving is special because it does not mean you know you're going to be comfortable where you are. It means that you know you're going to be uncomfortable, maybe so incredibly uncomfortable you want to leave your situation, but you have the strength to keep going through it because you know it's going to be worth it. You know your awkwardness and your mistakes are all going to be worth it. You're never going to stop experiencing change, you're never going to stop working hard, and you're never going to stop being challenged. But all of you in this room, and everyone in this world has what it takes to thrive. Thank you to all of you for giving me a platform to express my feelings and share my wisdom. I hope that my speech resonated with you. And a final note of wisdom that I'd like to add is that in the chaos and the craziness that this life is, sometimes all that we can do is embrace the unique insanity of being right here, right now. Thank you.